Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Friday, yeah, bo. Hey. It's always a very good time when it is about to be Shabbat or the weekend indeed. With that being said, where are my manners? My name is Sihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty. Welcome to another episode of Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show. Hey guys, all you need to do, your only price of admission here at Vuka Nazo is to really hit the like button and the share button. Help this show reach a much broader and wider audience. And if you're watching this simulcast on either Facebook or YouTube, then do me a favor. On Facebook, like the page, like the Big Daddy Liberty page, and on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button and of course, smash the bell notification so that you're notified every time Vuka Nazo is on your morning screens. We also have a website, remember, kumbula, at bigdaddyliberty.com. There, of course, you can pledge some financial support. And guys, you have been supporting the channel. I am watching some of that support come through. I'm super appreciative of that. We'll do a little show just to say thank you. I won't name anybody because some people want to keep their contribution secret, but I will do a thank you show to you. But how you contribute to the show is you go to the website at bigdaddyliberty.com, find a payment method that suits you, and indeed, you can do either between 50 to 100 Rand per month in support. The average is about 75 Rand a month. Woo! That was a lot of jibber jabber this morning. How about we get straight into the news? All right, it effectively became the largest and indeed breaking news in the week after an explosive interview with the outgoing CEO of Eskom, that's the one Andrè de Ruyter. That interview, of course, which we brought to you on yesterday's Vuka Nazo, at least segments of it, where de Ruyter makes some really damning allegations and indeed spills the beans on the toxic and corrupt nature, fundamentally corrupt nature of a state-owned enterprise that he was managing, Eskom, and indeed implicating ANC top brass in the rot and indeed the criminality that has taken over. Well, now you remember de Ruyter had already resigned from the organization and was serving a notice period, allowing for that transition, if you will, into the hiring of a new CEO. Well, Eskom now announcing that Fudget, he's now being effectively stepping down from Eskom with, quote, immediate effect. You can see that letter on screen there from Eskom basically saying, you know, they've reached mutual agreement with de Ruyter to curtail his notice period to now the 28th of February of this year. The board resolving, as it mentions, that Mr. de Ruyter will not be required to serve the balance of his notice period that will be, and he will be released from his position rather with immediate effect. Now here's the thing. You can bet your bottom dollar this letter comes almost directly from Luthuli House. That is the headquarters of the ANC. And why? Andrè de Ruyter has effectively kicked a hornet's nest here by effectively, given his now limited time at the parastatal, indeed being on his way out, effectively having nothing to lose, in a sense, spilling the beans, of course, on the absolutely corrupt and fundamentally corrupted nature of the SOE Eskom. How Eskom is nothing more than effectively a feeding trough for the pigs that are the ANC politicians and their political elite chums. The people who, of course, fleece Eskom using often race-based legislation like BEE, the scam that is black economic empowerment. It has nothing to do with empowering the broader population of South Africans, but instead, it's all for the political elites. It's the fig leaf that the political elites and politicians use to enrich themselves, often using state-owned enterprises or state-owned businesses, whether it's Eskom or Transnet and the like. The big story now is, of course, the response and the fallout from this particular interview and the exit of Andrè de Ruyter, who, amongst other things, also exposed how they are dangerous and murderous criminal syndicates who are effectively have taken over, who have captured Eskom, citing a lot of the capture happening in provinces such as in Mpumalanga, where a lot of the coal-powered power plants of Eskom are actually based. Probably the big reason why de Ruyter himself, after making these revelations on this interview, is now citing that he's leaving the country. Let me read this My Broadband piece, which detailed exactly what's happening and the issue around this. Now, de Ruyter said they intensified their efforts to fight crime and corruption at the utility and have made some inroads in tackling these problems. However, by closing the taps on billions in proceeds of crime, he did, quote, not make any friends, end of quote, and put a target on his back. De Ruyter recently revealed that there was an attempt on his life in December of last year. Doctors found high cyanide levels in his blood after he felt dizzy and disorientated at the office, end of quote. Now, again, as I said, this is, of course, one of the major reasons why de Ruyter is effectively skipping the country in order to keep himself and likely his family safe. And again, I must quickly read again from that same piece, just to give further context as to how sophisticated and violent the syndicates are. Here are the numbers involved in this, where de Ruyter himself sheds that these are billion-rand syndicates. So of course, they're going to have the sort of resources to hire their own private armies. They almost become warlords, in a sense, protecting their corrupt loot. Now, de Ruyter also shed light on 4 criminal cartels in Mpumalanga, which steal around R1 billion a month from Eskom. The 4 criminal cartels are sophisticated, well organized, and even adopted language associated with the mafia, like captains and soldiers. He's quoted as having said they have a hit squad of between 60 and 70 highly trained and well-armed people. People get assassinated in Mpumalanga, he said. The criminal networks have extended their tentacles to many Eskom workers, who then in turn sabotage and vandalize power stations on their behalf, end of quote. Now, as I conclude the story, and there will be a Mummish in a moment, as I conclude the story now, you'd expect the response to these revelations by government to be, oh, well, we're going to get into action, we're going to, deal with the corruption, we're going to take seriously what Mr. de Ruyter is saying in order to root out the corruption. No, that's definitely not the response by the state. Instead, they've kicked him out and literally cast him out as though he were a wet dog. That is essentially how desperate the ANC and this ANC government has been to see de Ruyter leave. Now, bear in mind, I'm not a fan of de Ruyter. Here's the thing, guys. There are no heroes in the story. De Ruyter himself is just as much a villain as everybody else. That's why when I'm watching the praise and worship he's receiving on social media, I often say to people, hashtag don't be dribbled, for this reason, because de Ruyter is the same person who made very scant effort to upgrade and maintain and fix our coal-powered power plants in this country, and instead pursued this green agenda, indeed even sucking up billion-dollar loans, debt that you and I will have to pay as South Africans into the future. Our children will be saddled into it, looking for that green agenda as opposed to getting down to the absolute basics. And really the basics here are the idea that Eskom faces a perfect storm of effectively decades of, on the one hand, aging power stations which were abused and run too hard for too long, which saw, of course, the need for them to be maintained often, yet the budget for maintenance being blown on other things at Eskom, including corruption and essential maintenance not happening. The second reason, of course, being corruption, as mentioned earlier on, with those criminal syndicates having taken root. And the third area is that almost 2-year delay in bringing on independent power producers, and then the moral panic at the end when we started getting to these deeper stages of Eskom. Those 3 things are exactly why we're in the mess here, despite the warnings from as far back as the 90s. For those of us who have that memory and don't have goldfish memory, like most people, far back as the 90s, with the likes of Alec Irwin, who was then the minister at the time, given warnings that South Africa will face energy issues into the near future. So this is a long time in the coming, and indeed you'd expect, as I said, that the current crop of political leadership would be on the ball and trying to do something desperately given these revelations. Now, quick bookmark, I'm not actually expecting that, I'm just making the point here. Guys, hashtag politicians are trash. But nonetheless, as I conclude this particular bit, I'll say this. We now have a situation where politicians are actually very happy seeing the back of de Ruyter, because it means the corruption and the malfeasance that we're seeing in Eskom will continue. It means basically that their ability to fleece, loot, and indeed pillage the SOE will continue. That is why you're seeing the likes of Pravin Gordhan choosing to go after de Ruyter, basically saying, yeah, shut the hell up. Don't say anything about the politics of Eskom. The politics, of course, being a euphemism of him revealing the corruption at Eskom. It's amazing how corruption and politics have become synonymous in this country. But nonetheless, Pravin on the one hand going after de Ruyter, with the union SAFTU coming out and saying it wants to press charges, criminal charges against de Ruyter for him to spill the beans and actually name the ministers that he talks about. That is how messed up your country is. And that's exactly why I say never look to these individuals for solutions to anything. All right, dear viewer, which brings us, of course, to our Mummish of the week. Mummish, of course, being that individual or incident which is a complete F-up of the week. Who is this week's Mummish of the week? And our Mummish of the week is Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan. What a Mummish. And why is Pravin Gordhan the Mummish of the week? Well, upon hearing the revelations by outgoing CEO, Eskom CEO Andrè de Ruyter, you'd expect the Minister of Public Enterprises to support the revelations and indeed even commit to putting in place action to deal with the allegations of widespread corruption there. No, that's not what Pravin Gordhan did. In fact, he actually criticized de Ruyter, calling him, effectively telling him to shut the F up and not say anything about the corruption, because if he speaks about corruption there, then he's dabbling in politics. Let me read this quick piece in the Business Day, which detailed with Pravin Gordhan how he responded to de Ruyter and his allegations. Now, Pravin Gordhan has launched an attack on outgoing Eskom CEO de Ruyter, rebuking him for, quote, meddling in politics instead of focusing on ending load shedding. CEOs of entities such as Eskom should not be involved in open, quote, open political debates or assertions, end of quote. And if they have political views, quote, that is their private business and they are welcome to express those views privately, Gordhan told Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises on Wednesday, end of quote. Oh, my goodness. This is the caliber of leadership we have in this country. Absolute losers who have done jack fiddly squat since they've been placed as political heads of various portfolios in government. This useless communist that is Pravin Gordhan, who seems to be loved and praised by so many people, has done jack fiddly squat. Before he literally points at the fleck in de Ruyter's eye, he ought to look at the log in his own. Because the question is, being the Public Enterprises Minister for this long, what has he done to end load shedding? This is why Pravin Gordhan, with his useless comments and his useless time as minister, is our Mummish of the week. All right, that's it for this episode of Vuka Nazo. Let me know, this particular episode focused in on this issue of Eskom and indeed the clown world nature of it. We'll probably also pick up this conversation in this Sunday's episode of Liberty and Friends. Two big issues we'll probably cover there. The budget speech, of course, that was held this week, and of course these revelations around Eskom. So look forward to that. Sunday, 8 p.m, Liberty and Friends. Do not miss it. With that being said, if you love how I begin your mornings, then you'll love how our friends over at the Daily Friend will help you round off your news day. That's dailyfriend.co.za, coming to you Mondays to Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. live. With that being said, thank you for watching. Hit that like button and share the stream on your way out. And of course, find us on our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. With that being said, enjoy your weekend. Good Shabbos to those who are observant Jews, and indeed, great weekend to everybody else. And I'll see you next week, Monday, for another episode of Vuka Nazo.